What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Nooners of Thrones. Today, we are talking about Season 8, Episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And, interesting episode. We'll get right into it. I have a very special panel today, and we'll be having a contest, so to speak, some questions for some wine keychains that I'll be sending out. Three coming your way. Also, I need to give a special shout out to my patrons. So here we go. Catherine Harding, Dark Mother, Bobby Catalano, Clarissa Thompson, Amy True, John St. Baptiste, and Katrin C. From my point of view, I like the name change, Katrin. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. We'll let some peeps get in the chat. Lauren's Corner, what is up? Without further ado, I have to introduce my guests and panel. In the chat, let me know what y'all thought of the episode. And Miss Catherine Cronin, nail extraordinaire, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Very excited for this episode.
I am excited to have y'all, and I'm not going to lie, already an interesting chat before the stream. You know, I have to introduce now the Oracle, Clare Gray. I mean, these people come in groups, and I'm telling you, there's something about them. They are predictors.
I know everybody calls me the Oracle. My Ironborn name is the Barnacle. Just like a secret there. I really enjoyed this episode the second time round. I think the first time I was a little bit overwhelmed, wasn't really taking it in, and it just kind of felt a bit like, where's all the action? Why is it taking so long? This kind of felt like one of those afternoon plays on BBC Two. It just, the pacing of it was a bit difficult for me at the beginning. But anyway, I just watched it again a couple of hours ago, and I said before the stream started, I think this is going to be an episode that I'm pondering about all week. I mean, I do anyway with the episodes, but I think this one particularly so. As a Brienne fan, oh, wow. And actually, when we get to the Brienne bit, I don't know how I'm going to react. I might get quite emotional.
I'll just mute you. Don't worry.
Oh, my God. It just the sense of satisfaction as a Brienne fan was just absolutely fantastic. I'll just cry every time I see that scene. So, yes. Hi, everyone.
Dunk the Lunk. Sir Duncan the Tall. You know, that's a really good... Brienne was the crux of this episode. I have to agree with you there. I won't go off on a tangent because I have to introduce MackenzieLBurns, a.k.a. SaSa, my resident co-host, my partner in crime. What's going on? What are you getting into today?
Not much, Johnny, but thank you for having me. And I'm so happy to be joined by Catherine and Claire. It's just an honor to be in your presence as well. And today I will be probably putting out my reaction to the episode. I'm trying a new format with it, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this episode, pretty good. But it had a little kinks, but I'm sure they'll be worked out in time, hopefully, with a limited amount of time.
And yes, a shout out to the name of the episode. Thank you so much for being on, Mackenzie. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Right now, there's 3 short novels, right? Would you call them novels? They're pretty short, but 3 books making up a few more. Hopefully, are coming, right? Maybe there's supposed to be 6 or 7. Oh yeah, this one. Oh, you want me to do a promotion? Yes. Send me some money, everyone. Go get this book if you haven't read it. This is about Brienne's ancestor, Sir Duncan the Tall, and Aegon the Fifth Targaryen, I believe is the 5th, right? I could be wrong on that. Just yell at me if I'm wrong, everyone. With that, we'll start off with the elephant in the room, or the faceless man sex scene in the room. The awkwardness that kind of ruined the first watch for me, and this episode was a little better on the rewatch, I'll give you that. My emotions were thrown off by this. Dead-eye sex scene. Just go. Miss Cronin. Cat, take it away,
I
my
definitely
friend.
don't have as big a problem with this as you do. That's for sure. But it was definitely a little bit cringe. I think for me, the problem for me is how awkward it felt in terms of how it was shot. I said this to you guys beforehand. It was just, I know, Johnny, you mentioned in our chat beforehand that we've seen like non-nude sex scenes before, but this was really awkwardly shot. Like just cutting off Maisie Williams, like just neck and head, and it just looked a bit strange. Not that we need a boob shot, but it just looks strange for Game of Thrones, I think. I think it was definitely an awkward attempt to make sure that we saw her scars as well. I think that's definitely what was going on there. Other than that, I didn't really have a major issue with the sex scene. The rest of the episode redeemed itself for me.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. We'll get into some speculation about it. I'll welcome everyone in the chat real quick. Catherine Harding, Clare Gray, don't know who the heck that is. The Imagination Realm, what is up? Go check out the imaginationrealm.com for news, articles, blogs on all your favorite TV shows and more. Girl Nettles, what is up? Clarissa Thompson, fantastic to see you. Jordy Jedi, how is it going, my man? Storm Still, thank you so much for popping out. Lauren's Corner, everybody go check her out. For sure, Lauren be bringing the heat. Steve York, what is good? I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Samid Sand, how are you doing? Katrin C, hello again, my friend. Is that everyone? Did I miss anyone? Danny McKay, what is good, buddy? Catherine Bassett, thank you so much for coming out. All right, I'll let you go ahead and let's unmute. Talk to me, SaSa. What did you think about this scene and anything leading forward? Any foreshadowing for you? I know Claire's got something.
So we've had boat sex, we've had cave sex, so now this is armory sex or forgery sex. I can't figure this out. But yeah, it was kind of awkward because it seemed like their scene before their sex scene, if you want to call it a sex scene, was like a conversation that they should have had last episode, and then the conversation that they had last episode should have been in this episode. Like, it was kind of a mismatched conversation because she's acting like she hasn't seen Gendry in a while in that conversation. But beforehand, she's acting like nothing changed, so it just seemed awkward in the writing. But I'm kind of like a lot of people, and this is just kind of awkward because Arya seems like she never wanted that whole kind of thing, but it's being intimate with someone, especially like Gendry. But I can see why they did it, and I can see why that they gave her a positive sexual experience and kind of saved her for that long and gave it to someone like Gendry.
Was that really a positive? I'm sorry. Well, I'll just say it wasn't positive. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not going to get in an argument.
Compared to her sister being raped as her first time she was there, whatever, so it's positive in that sense. But yeah, it was just that whole kind of section was just mismatched and a little awkward because at the very end, when the song is playing over, she's just turned over and her eyes are just wide open, like, I got my serial killer eyes back, which is a little weird, but I'll stop for
now. So really quick, Marcus Aurelius, what's going on? Thank you for joining us. The White Tupac, Fake Arya. Thanks so much for coming out. Tad Dawson, 68 Dawson. That's a tongue twister. Marcus Aurelius, I didn't like the Arya Gendry sex scene at first, but that's not fair. Unlike book Arya, show Arya is a grown woman making grown decisions, and I do agree with that. I just thought it was very awkwardly shot. The way they did it seemed like they were pushing the limits for it. But, that's just my opinion, right? I could be completely wrong. I am Johnny B. Crazy.
Is that a euphemism, Johnny? Pushing the limits? No.
Everything's a euphemism on this channel. Go ahead, Claire.
Well, it's interesting. I've just had a look in the chat, and it seems to be most people's reactions from a male perspective didn't like the scene. From a female fan perspective, kind of okay with it. So as a female fan, I would say, get over yourselves. she made that decision. It was her choice. She didn't want to die a virgin. It's the end of the world. Deal with it. And also, from a woman's perspective, did you see his arms when he was tempering the weapons in there? Come on.
That's not the problem I
So
have with it. It was just I don't know. Maybe it's because I saw her as watched her grow up on screen. Maybe that's what made it weird. I don't know.
So much conversation you can have about a weapon in that context before things start getting a bit steamy and heated. I thought the best part of that scene, and I had to laugh when I watched it again, was she does this little hair. When you watch this scene again, because I know you all will, she does this cheeky little hair flip just because before she kind of jumps on top of him, which I thought was hilarious. Listen, I know that we've seen this actress as a young child, and I know that it feels awkward looking at this, but you've got to think about the context. It's the end of the world. She doesn't want to die a virgin. She wants to experience this. But let me throw another couple of things into the discussion for you to consider as part of this scene. First of all, she lost her virginity in Winterfell at home, and she was in control of that situation. Not the same cannot be said for Sansa. She also lost her virginity in Winterfell, but not in the same circumstances at all. But interesting that both of the Winterfell women, the northern female siblings, both were deflowered in Winterfell. And also, I think that this blossoming romance from the show perspective, definitely not from the book perspective, is this has been built up because that trailer scene where the shot where Arya is absolutely terrified in the crypts, I think that it's Gendry. It's a whited Gendry. He talked in this episode about being safer in the crypts, whether she should go in the crypts, whether he should. There was a conversation between Arya and Gendry about the crypts. He's going to end up going in there. He's going to end up. There will be two battles going on in the next episode. One of them being in the crypts, and I think Gendry will die. He will get whited, and she will have to kill him with the weapon that he forged for her. Therefore, the whole doomed romance, and that's why she was absolutely terrified. That's who she saw in the crypts in the trailer. That's my bold prediction.
The other thing is, I think with especially these first few episodes, we're going to see at the end of this season, whenever they release everything, there will be clips and scenes missing that they have had to cut out for one reason or another. Because we had quite a lot of Arya and Gendry in this episode compared to other people, I think, except for Dany probably. But the other thing is Gendry clearly had a really good wash, and he was staring at her like when she was doing the archery thing, and she probably knew he was there watching her, but it looked like he'd been watching her for a little while as well. So I think there's probably something going on that I think we have to fill in the gaps a lot, a bit like Gendry did.
You would say it was a peeping blacksmith at that point in time, right?
Definitely.
Oh, gee.
They set this up for a reason, right? Of course, Arya's supposed to kind of come of age as a woman. I expect that. It's not like she's actually lost all of her emotion. Before the wave chased her down, she still was Arya. So there's really no reason for her to have completely lost herself at this point. Like, she should still have a little bit of softness to her, because she still had it up until that point, and then she gets back from Bravos and it's kind of all gone. But that's my opinion. I don't disagree with what happened. Disagree with just kind of how it was set up. But to your point, there probably are missing scenes, and it makes me mad because there's so much filler in certain parts that just but all in all, it's not a bad call, and like it did its job and what it was supposed to do for setting up this definite love tragedy.
And I think you're right as well, Johnny. I think like it is jarring because Arya looks that bit younger than, like, say Maisie Williams looks that bit younger than Sophie Turner, for instance. But I kind of felt in that scene as well that was a very Macy driven scene. Like she wanted, it felt like this is like I want Arya to be seen as a woman as well right now. So I felt that way to me. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing interviews with her about it because yeah.
She did other scenes in movies, and she does take bold paths, actor wise. So I don't see her even being. She would probably, at bare minimum, like for sure, just be okay with it from a artistic standpoint. I don't know how she's happy with the edits of it, right? How it came off. That's my problem with it. Not what happened, just the edits were weird. With that, I won't harp on it too much. Do you have anything on it, SaSa? And I know we got some funny comments going on in the chat.
There's a lot of people in the chat, and I think fake Aria might have started it, but it says #empowered Aria. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just add, because I said this in our stream the other day that I kind of expected some kind of sex scene. I thought we were going to get another awkward Missandei Grey Worm sex scene. Johnny, would you have preferred that? Because I didn't want that.
Yeah, because I know nothing's really happening. No, just kidding.
It's kind of
they set that up good, though. We can segue into that. But does anyone have a question? We can go ahead and give away one of these keychains. And I didn't say that word. This is just a contest. Why don't you see if you can have some trivia? Does anybody have a question? It doesn't matter how easy or hard it is.
I'll ask a question. How long was episode 2 in minutes?
10 seconds.
Oh yeah, there's the delay.
5, 4, 3, 2.
There we go.
1. Boom. Who's right? Because I don't know.
I think it was 58 minutes, but I'll have to check. Let me check.
Of course we would do. I love it. I love it. They did set up. We will let you know in just a second who the winner is. They're probably like, I know I'm the winner. So I really kind of dug what they did here with Missandei and Grey Worm. They're giving us a payoff for having to go through this sex scene that you spoke of. Okay. And so this is interesting because Missandei said she wanted to stay with Dany and believed Dany would respect her decision, but everything we have seen in this episode has led me to believe that Dany is getting a little more controlling and has a little more emphasis on holding on to what is hers. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. For the first time in a while, that dynamic just added another layer to Dany's arc in particular, because throughout this episode, with the exception of Jorah, Dany has become more and more alienated. Even though she rescues it a little bit with Tyrion has Jaime there now, and she'll never have the same dynamic as he has with Jaime. So it feels like the only other person was Jon, and now Jon is something different to her. So if she, I don't know, if she gets wind of that was even a possibility, that they would leave her when she gets her Iron Throne, I think she would be incredibly angry.
Yeah.
Because I just think throughout this as well, I felt like Missandei was a little bit lost as to what to do in this episode. But I like the fact that they showed, that the Westeros and the North, but Westeros in general, will probably have a problem with the Unsullied and the Dothraki and whoever else isn't Westerosi. Because we forget that in the show sometimes, but it is a huge issue.
Yeah. But going back to the question, the wiki for the show says it's 58 minutes long.
Oh. Thank you, Lauren. I think Clarissa Thompson won that one. I will be doing 2 more, and since we have a lag, I will go about 15 seconds next time.
It's usually like a 6-second delay.
So I will do that for you.
Congratulations, Clarissa.
Woo.
The other thing on the Grey Worm Missandei thing, not to take from Clarissa's amazing victory, sorry, Clarissa, is that Grey Worm got a really good scene with Jamie as well at the beginning of this episode. I feel like this is really setting up for a major battle with Grey Worm the White and somebody else, potentially Jamie, because there's no way Grey Worm is getting out of this battle, right? I can't see it. I don't know what you think, Mackenzie.
No. Yeah. Well, Johnny and I had talked about Grey Worm and Missandei and this whole type of situation happening where one of them or both of them wants to leave, especially after Danny wins, and would she let them go? It's first brought up when John talks to Missandei in 705 when he's trying to get to know people on the island, and he's like, would she let you go if you wanted to? Missandei believes 100% she'd let me go. Like, of course she'd get me a ship and wish me good fortune and all this stuff. And John's like, I'm not so, like, behind the scenes, he's like, I'm not so sure about that. They still believe that that's going to be the one thing that happens. But if Danny survives and Grey Worm is kind of her official leader of the Unsullied, so how would she have to deal with that? She'd have to pick somebody new to be her leader of the Unsullied, someone who we wouldn't know, the audience wouldn't really know.
Whoa.
All this stuff. Same thing with Missandei. Would Daenerys let Missandei leave? Missandei is her best friend, one of her main advisors outside of the older white men that she's dealing with, and would be a person that's valuable for her, especially if Danny is to live and have a baby and have all of these things. Like, Missandei could teach this child 19 different languages to be beneficial for the future. So it would be, if Daenerys has to lose Jon and lose the dragons and lose everything, she's going to hold on to anything possible. And if Missandei is the one that lasts out, she's not letting her go anytime soon, in my opinion.
What about this? And Danny's set up to burn someone, right? We're kind of seeing this coming. She's gonna do this. This is gonna possibly push Jon over the edge. After this is won, if Grey Worm dies, or if he lives, Missandei definitely isn't gonna want to stay there. And Danny's already taken aback by what's happened with Jon right here, finding out that supposedly he's Aegon Targaryen and his best friend and his brother told him so. So Danny's got her mind working. Missandei comes to her, Your Grace, I would like to go back to my home. There's nothing for me here. I've lost everything I love. Please. Traitor. I could see her snapping. Oh, it would be pretty hard to watch, but...
Johnny, do you think that Danny would see this as her betrayal for love? Because Claire and I have kind of said this with Missandei, particularly in the books. There's something a little bit off with Missandei in the books. She's very different in the show. And we did have that scene cut from, I think it was season 5, where they were on top of the pyramids and she makes Missandei promise to never betray her. It was in like the DVD extras. So it may be what she sees as betrayal for love, because throughout this episode, you know, well, we'll get to the Jamie trial later on, but this thing of Danny potentially being the Mad Queen, and people push against that because Ares had voices in his head, but Danny has a voice in her head as well, and she revealed it. Viserys is always in her head. He's always in her head in the books as well. If it's not Viserys, it's Miri Mazdor. So she also has voices in her head. It's just a little bit different to what we'd expect, maybe. So madness comes in many shapes and many forms, but I can totally see her. Oh gosh, that would be amazing if she burned in the Missandei. Horrible, but like, what an amazing scene if she did. That would be incredible.
Well, what about Danny's delusions? I'll throw this in the mix. Jon's war. I come up here for Jon's war. It's the end of the world. What are you talking about, Danny?
She's still smiling half the time she's talking to Sansa.
But
hey, Viserion is a white. Is the Iron Throne okay?
I think that in the back of her mind, the way that Dany's approaching all of this since she arrived in Westeros is, if I give you something, you owe me. So yes, I'm involved in Jon's war, but that means at some point you will owe me for that. And I agree. I think she's starting to feel really quite isolated. She doesn't know if she can really trust Tyrion. She's only really hanging on to the thread of trusting Tyrion through Jorah's word. Jorah was an interesting character, actually, this episode. I think she's definitely not. She's just being a bit princessy and not feeling appreciated. I think, I'm here with my dragons. You've all been really fucking miserable and cold and horrible and northern, and I've been trying. I've been sitting here and saying, listing what we've got in common, and we're both female rulers, and she is completely, totally outclassed by Sansa. Sansa is in complete control in that situation, and Dany's losing the plot. So having something like Missandei turning around and saying, actually, I'm out of here. This isn't my fight. I've lost everything. I think she would see that as a massive, massive betrayal. And what people are saying in the chat, I think it was Bubba saying in the chat, her mandate, her only goal. She said it in this episode. It's what I was born to do, was to take the Iron Throne. Well, she wasn't actually, because all she heard was Viserys, as Catherine said in her ear, talking about. But that sense of entitlement, that Targaryen entitlement, is there, and she does not like what she heard at the end of the episode. It all plays into the same thing. There's going to be real problems there. But yeah, I think she's feeling isolated. Wouldn't surprise me if at some point she was like, I'm going, I'm out of here. This isn't my war. You're all so ungrateful, and I feel unappreciated, and you're all shit. So come on, two remaining dragons.
That's basically the first thing I text you this morning.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Also doesn't help too that Missandei and Grey Worm are kind of the anomaly, the racial anomaly in this sort of situation. It's like, you think Winterfell and the North is just like this? No, this is just spans all of Westeros, is where people of color, specifically in this show, are very limited. They're only pretty much within the Unsullied, and the Dothraki is pretty much where we get the people of colors. And they highlight that in this episode with the little kids that are in a sense afraid to talk to Missandei because she looks different, and she's maybe a part of Daenerys because she wears the 3 heads of the dragon pin as well. So it's that weird situation. But yeah, and Miss Dany's not going to deal very well with the fact that her pseudo sister-in-laws don't really like her that much. They still want their own power, even though she kind of let Yara do whatever she wants 2 seasons before that, and was like, yeah, sure, you can take the Iron Islands whenever you get it, and blah blah blah. Like, Sansa's asking valid points, and
what happened to breaking the wheel?
I know exactly.
See, this is so divisive a topic, and Girl Nettles, I definitely respect your opinion. She's on board with Dany, which I see. If Dany is super strong. I feel like Dany's only issue is I feel like her self-worth is based on the Iron Throne. And I think she's misguided in that aspect, and I do believe she still has a chance to have an epiphany, right? She's given this chance when the Night King comes, because she saw what happened beyond the wall. That should have been enough to shake her and not think it's Jon's war. But I do agree. Dany, she said Dany went to Sansa woman to woman, and she did. You got to give her respect for that. But Sansa said what was on her mind, and this is the end of the world, so she's going to tell her how she feels, and I could see both sides of that.
That was her idea, though, Johnny. That was Jorah who completely engineered that as in his piece.
That's true.
It's like, you got to make peace with the sister. Come on.
Do you know the other thing that's weird? All of Dany's side, without exception, like Jorah, Tyrion, Missandei, Grey Worm, they're all preparing for survival. Whereas the other side, are very pessimistic and more realistic and saying, we're not going to make it through this. And that seems a little bit off with the reality of the threat that they face. The North know that they're now at the front line for defending all of Westeros, and that hasn't really registered. And I think the biggest blow to Dany, I think, Johnny, you might be right, because I think the biggest blow to Dany is going to come when she loses potentially all of the Dothraki and all of the Unsullied.
Yeah, she's going to lose, and who knows, she may even lose a dragon, which will...
Desperation ensues, and all she has is a claim to the throne that may not be that a strong a claim as she's been. It's a hard thing. You got to semi-empathize with her because her whole life she's worked toward this goal. She's suffered for this goal, and it doesn't look like she's going to get this goal. Now, it would be pretty cool if somehow they could engineer it where she does have an epiphany and she ends up being chosen to rule. Because that's the only person that's going to rule. You're going to have to be chosen by your peers right here. And she doesn't get that yet. She thinks you have a dragon, you're coming to help, I demand respect. Sure, you get a certain amount of respect for that, but you got to give respect to get respect. She's trying a little bit, but I feel like she's hiding behind armor. And she may even be, the imagination realm made a point, Sansa is intimidating. She may be a little intimidated here, and she's trying to hide behind this guise of a smile. So, I'm not saying I'm necessarily trying not to judge Dany too harshly yet, because she's yet to really do anything wrong except kind of have feelings, right? Which we all do. So, yeah, Because
the show seems to be playing both directions. I think you could definitely be still pro Dany, but definitely still anti-Dany, or at least see the darker side of Dany. There's two scenes in particular that stood out to me. For the first time in this whole series, when Sansa and Theon reunite, we don't see Sansa go into Theon's arms. We see Dany's reaction to it. And it's like this is what loyalty really is. It's not loyalty bought through fire and blood and dragons, which is how she got the Unsullied and how she got the Dothraki. The other scene was when she was going into the crypts, and for like a brief second, I thought it was a White Walker, just the way her coat looked. It was like that kind of white,
like a zombie, right?
Yeah, it was like that white. I was like, oh shit, John. I was like, oh no, it's just Dany. So there's like hints. I think visually, I really like last week's show as well, last week's episode as well. I think visually they've been on point and playing games with us the last 2 episodes as well. And those are the kind of ways we're forming our opinions as much through the visuals as we are through the actions and writing.
Yeah. And there's also the thing of Sansa's and Daenerys have kind of met their almost match. More specifically, Daenerys has met her match in terms of, she brings it up. It's like, I thought we were going to be on the same playing field as in the same ideologies as when we were dealing with Jaime. And Sansa's like, sure, but the person that I trust more than anybody is tells me this, so I have to believe her. Like, she held the truth to my mother. It's like that he would help return the Starks to Winterfell. That's kind of what happened. So
I kind of hate when women do that as well. It's like, oh, we're both women, so we should get along. Whereas, like with Arya presents Sansa as the smartest person she knows, not the smartest woman she knows. It's the smartest person. So like,
propaganda.
I feel like Dany is kind of. I think Dany was maybe trying to come at her from that level. And I loved that scene. And I think, Johnny, you're right. Dany needs to be given props for even going to her, taking Jorah's. It shows that she's still willing to listen, which is why I'd be very worried if Jorah was out of the picture, because I don't know who she'd be willing to listen to.
He gone after next episode.
Yeah, she's getting further and further back into a corner, and she's going to pounce as soon as this happens, because first it's like, she can't know she can trust Tyrion anymore very much. Once Varys finds out about who Jon really is, he's gone. Or at least he'll try and jump ship as fast as he can, almost to Jon, and be like, okay, we can try and sort this sort of thing out. Jorah's just waving there because until his dying breath, he will be in allegiance to Daenerys. and so on and so forth. And then, but yeah, she's being pushed into this corner because the sisters don't like her. John, seemingly, for some sake of argument, has now this huge I don't want to touch you anymore kind of mentality because you're my aunt. All the people that advise John seemingly hate Daenerys, is what she's thinking. So it's like she's gonna pounce next episode, if anything, or in episode 4, she's gonna use Dragonfire against a lot of people, and really emphasize the heiress mentality that she has going on.
The swing vote on this one might be Varys. Did you see the look that Varys gives her when John kind of rejects her in the hall? He noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody else was really paying attention, but Varys noticed it. So
there's this, especially because they've kind of made John Vagon in a sense. That there's will be a swing vote if he survives this war. It'll be a thing of who's you gonna deal with and who would be the next hand, because Tyrion brings this up. It's like, well, it seems like I'm not going to be wearing this pin for so much longer. It's like, I guess she'll have to give it to Jorah in a sense if he survives, but
ooh, yes. Neoplanner. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But Neoplanner has a really good question, and there's a bunch of other good comments in the chat. I'm going to try to get to them. Which Stark dies in the next episode? I'll go ahead and predict this. Arya is going to die. Beric Dondarrion will be bringing Lady Stoneheart back to life. And Gendry may kill her now that we're talking about this. It's something that you said, Claire. Go ahead, Claire. Bust it out.
I think if this episode is all about the battle at Winterfell and it's the big epic battle episode of the season, it's Winterfell. We've got to lose a Stark just for that drama attached to the battle. We've got to lose a Stark. So I'm kind of process of elimination. To be honest with you, personally, I think it could be anybody apart from Sansa. I think Sansa is the Stark that has to survive. Bran, I think, potentially could die.
But he can't die according to them. All of man is gone.
He could potentially die or be. I mean, he's not even Bran Stark anymore, so could he? Are we even badging him as a Stark? But he he could fight this fight on the metaphysical plane where he gets killed or injured by the Night King while the other kind of battle in reality is going on at Winterfell. I think quite easily in battle, Jon or Arya could die. So I think I'd flip the question round and say, which one do I think is going to survive? And I would say Sansa. Possibly. Out of the 4 of them, Arya probably.
I'm going to say 2. Theon Stark, and Ghost.
Oh, I saw some Thansa in the chat.
I'm not into the Thansa thing. I loved that scene. And I kept thinking, like, people are surprised at that, but think of how many times Reek would have taken a beating rather than have Sansa take a beating in whatever weird sex games that Ramsay was into. Like, the bond there is ridiculously strong, and I think they've built up Theon enough in this episode for that for me would be enough to break my heart. And I think it has to happen, but I think Ghost will die from bad CGI.
He had bad CGI this episode, but that
was just a normal wolf or whatever. They didn't even CGI. It was standing on a box. I saw the box.
Yeah. But Steve York brought up this comment a while ago in the chat, and I waited until kind of this moment to bring it up, but it says, Theon, Gendry, Grey Worm, Jorah, Sam, and Jaime were all shown next to a woman they care about during Jenny's song. Interesting. But Theon and Sansa is a complicated relationship. There's probably won't be any, I wouldn't, now that we've had Gendry and Arya have like an intimate scene together, I wouldn't feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility that those two could have a scene like that, but it'd be an interesting, weird scene because it would kind of be like Missandei and Grey Worm 2.0 second scene, but I don't know.
Did that scene just completely blow anybody else's mind? Because I was not expecting the level of emotion from that
Jenny
scene.
Which scene?
The Theon and Sansa.
Oh yeah. It was
And then
amazing.
Dany's reaction to the fact that when he turns and says, "Can I fight for Winterfell, Lady Sansa?" She's like, "This is you're in alliance with me." Like,
We talked about this in House Polished on Saturday. Sansa gets the best reunions. She has gotten the best reunions throughout, like since season 6 or whatever. She's just had the most amazing reunions. And I think I think the thing with Sansa is, and they do this very well with Dany, to be fair as well, she isn't so removed like as a leader. She still has kept her humanity. I think though I've kind of come around to T-Baby's way of thinking after this episode. I think Jaime is out. I think Jaime's going to die in Winterfell because we need that faceless man card to be played again. And I think it's going to be Arya using Jaime's face in King's Landing.
Bond's gonna be there next episode. Who's he gonna kill? Gonna shoot Dany in the face? Who knows? Just gonna be.
Can I just add to that, because I can't stop thinking about it. Theon and Sansa. It was such a shock for me that it was that powerful of a reaction. So you've got it's like why would that? If you look at Sansa, she is in full, like, she's crying, she's hugging him. It's a really kind of unexpected, like, wow, I didn't recognize the depth of feeling there. And I think so why is that? And I think it's because she's completely focused on loyalty and honesty, and somebody who's going to somebody that's going to display something where she can think, okay, I trust them. And I know that she had all those previous scenes, she knows what he's been through, she knows his hardship, she knows what he has experienced at the hands of Ramsay Bolton. But I think when she's looking at everybody around her at the moment, Theon is the pinnacle of that kind of character, that personality. He has come back. He wants to defend the Starks. He's really showing that. I mean, it's a massive redemption thing, obviously, for Theon, which is kind of emotional. There's lots of little book things there. Somebody was saying in the comments that in the books, Theon did have a thing for Sansa. There was an attraction thing there from his point of view when they were growing up. And I just something, and Lauren as well, absolutely hilarious. Hold me closer, tiny Sansa.
Well, I thought like that was definitely my second favorite scene in this whole episode. And what made it, apart from the whole weird Dany seeing like this weird connection, she had no idea that she thought she had the connection to the Ironborn, and she kind of then to see this powerful connection that Sansa had. But the thing I loved most about it was the way Theon pulled her closer. And it was like, this is who Sansa chooses to spend potentially their last night together. She chooses to spend sharing her last supper with Theon. I think it was hugely powerful. And I feel, again, like, I know everybody sings the praises of Alfhial, and rightfully so, but he had maybe 4 lines in this whole episode, and he stole both scenes he was in, he stole from me.
Yeah, because there's sorry, Johnny, the concept of Theon, I already saved my bio sister, now let me go and save my bio sister / my bio sibling, and let me go save my adoptive family and my adoptive siblings, but more specifically leaning into that Sansa Theon relationship, because it's built up over the seasons, especially after season 5 and into season 6, that whole relationship that they had really established itself. So it's like, let me just go. I know Yara is safe for now. She's on a boat with a whole bunch of Ironborn. She's okay. But now let me go and save my other family and kind of reaffirm in John's eyes of who I am as a person, because that was a thing that they had mentioned during episodes 5 and 6, I think. So, yeah, of last season. So yeah. Go ahead, Johnny. This is your channel.
Yeah, oh, is it? What were we talking about? I don't know. I'm just joking. We got a bunch of Sansa, Dany, combative. No, not really combativeness. Just a nice debate back and forth. You know, people aren't really going to change their minds about these two polar characters. I would say that Dany is a fantastic character. Her complex nature is, and it's simplistic and it's complex what she has going on. And I actually really love Dany's character. There are a few things that have thrown me off in this season, but in general, Dany is cool with me. Kolnitsky, what is up? How's everybody doing out there? We might give away another keychain in a second. What do y'all think? I keep saying that word. I can't say it. We might ask a question. But first, we will talk about, well, I just want to say Ghost really quick. I don't know why they just put a regular dog in the background, but we have Dolores Ed, Sam, and John talking. I really love this scene. This is a cool scene to me. Sam, if Sam is the ladies' man and Sam is the slayer, you really know the world must be coming to an end. And I look back, and I'll show a picture later if I can find it. If you look on the cave drawings, there are 3 heroes that meet up with the children of the forest, and then you have the eyeball being Bran, in my opinion, there. We have the 3 standing here, and Ghost, in my opinion, represents the old gods, right? I think that may be the last people we have alive, or at least are going to be on the good side. Because Tyrion, seemingly to me, is going to die. Jaime, I don't know. That is complex in my opinion. And also, Theon's set up to be the first one to die, right? I'm gonna protect Bran, which is cool, but Bran's like, okay, bro, you deserve it. Hashtag they deserved it. Do y'all want to talk about that a little bit? A little more on Theon and the battle strategy, and we find out what the Night King is all about, which was semi-underwhelming for me. He wants to erase the memory of man, not get rid of the curse. I don't, apparently he has a fun time being another, and pimping ain't easy. So
I think that's going to happen in the books, where we're going to have some Ironborn protecting Bran next to the werewolf. I think that felt like a very Martin thing to do. Just the poetry behind it, I loved it. I think, I don't know, is Bran withholding some more information, or does he not know the full thing? Mackenzie, you look like you have something you want to say about that.
Well, when Bran and Jaime have that conversation, and he goes, I apologize for the things that I've done, and when there's the after, Bran says, how do you know that there's an after? So Bran's trying to figure out himself if he can look into the future, if there is an after, and who's in this after. So if he can tell them, like, this is what I think is going to happen, and what is, because there's no track record of the Night King being successful with another three-eyed raven. So, like, this is what I think is going to happen. Because remember, the depth of Bran's knowledge wavers because he has to be told something to then be able to look for it. So the fact that no one knows any motivations about the Night King besides Brendan Rivers, who obviously has died, it's a bit of a tricky situation for him. And he's piecing together what he can. And also, with the whole Theon and Bran thing and the Ironborn, it's a complete mirror image of when Bran was taken out by the Ironborn. So it's like, now I'm going to protect you instead of kick you out. Keep you here instead of kicking you out.
Yeah, and it seems a lot like, I feel like, Bran is Brendan Rivers at this point. He even kind of admits it. I think he knows more than he's letting on here. He says that famous line to Jaime, you're thinking that there's an after. That kind of throws me off. And then apparently they're setting a trap in the Godswood, which I think is going to be beautiful thematically. But are they setting up a one-on-one scene with Jon Snow and the Night King? He said earlier it's not going to be that easy. Is it going to be that easy? Go ahead, Claire.
It possibly could be that easy. It depends on it depends really on whether or not Bran's right and that the Night King will come for him as he has other three-eyed ravens and Bran himself in the past. Will he divert from his own troops and go off on his own little mission to try and find Bran and take him down? If he does do that, which seems a bit silly as a battle strategy, it does, doesn't it? It'll leave him completely vulnerable, but also, as John said, the main objective is to protect Bran. So Bran's going to have a lot of protection around him. Theon is going to be the first line of defense. The Night King probably wouldn't stand much of a chance if Jon and Daenerys are there with the dragons. I mean, there'd be a lot of fireworks and there'd be a battle for sure in the Godswood. That might be cinematically could be quite interesting. But I think I can't see that happening. I think they're putting themselves in danger by being in the Godswood, and maybe they're not going to be protected. Something will go horribly wrong and one of them will die. Theon, possibly even Jon or Daenerys.
Now they're sitting over a ridge in the previews, and go ahead. I just want to say they're sitting over a ridge in the previews, like they're looking out over it. The Night King has to know they're there. He sees everything through Bran's eyes, right? They just said the plans. They contradicted themselves a lot, but that's why I think that may be more complicated than they're letting on. But I don't know, or maybe they're all just gonna die.
It has to be. There has to be a lot more to it, because I think Bran is definitely withholding information because he saw Jaime coming, but didn't think to tell anybody that there wasn't an army coming with him. Like, he would have known that. So, I mean, surely he can see whatever battle formation or whatever attack is coming. He can see whether the Night's King is coming at the back, if he's going to fly around and come from the other side, or if he's even going to be there at all. If he's going to, I mean, it seems to me that if he can destroy the wall, why not destroy Winterfell with the dragon? I mean, I don't know. It just, a lot of it seems a little bit, I feel they should have pressed Bran a little bit more. And I think even Dany saying it to Jon at the end, you know, when she's finally told about the Aegon Targaryen stuff, she says, "Oh, so you got this information from your best friend and your brother," which is kind of valid, I guess.
Fair point.
From her point of view, yeah. So it's like, why don't they press Bran? It's like, oh, like even Arya says to him, you know, will Dragonfire kill him? And he says, I don't know, nobody's ever tried it before.
It could be that. I think Bran quite clearly understands that he's in an important position. I think he recognizes that, but I don't necessarily know how comfortable he is with his powers and his abilities and what he's able to do. I think that was highlighted when we had Bloodraven seemingly quite shocked in previous series at what Bran is capable of. So I he may be able to do all of these things. It's just that he doesn't. And he says in this episode, "Oh, you're asking me things where I don't know the answer to that. That I don't know if that's ever happened before." So I don't know if he's tapping into the abilities and memories and experiences of all the other previous three-eyed ravens. It sounds like there have been many of them. This is kind of almost like an official title rather than it being the person. You just lose your identity. You become the three-eyed raven. So here's a question for you that's maybe really obvious that I may have just forgotten, but who do we know who the three-eyed raven was prior to Bloodraven? Has he ever said, look, there was somebody here before me?
There are skeletons of other men that have been there in the books. I'm pretty sure, doesn't he say that there were many before? I think some were even children of the forest at one point in time, seemingly. I probably skipped or something there. But some are kind of children of the forest, I think. There's some still woven into the roots. But this feels
like in order for humanity to survive the long night, because this is what the Night King wants, is the long night. In order for humanity to survive, there has to be a three-eyed raven that survives.
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what he's implying, is that he's coming for me because I'm the person who will be able to remember everything. I've tapped into the Weirwood network. I can I've got this green seeing ability, and I can walk as well. These are the things that I can do, which means humanity will not be forgotten. There will be a history, there will be stories. And that will defeat him. He won't be able to ever say that we never potentially even existed as a race. He's never going to be able to say that as long as a three-eyed raven exists to ensure that humanity is not forgotten. That is what death is. So
this is where it gets very, very confusing, because how much of this is determined and how much of it is just good luck on behalf of Bloodraven. Because if Jamie hadn't thrown Bran out of the window, we don't get a Bloodraven that's capable of leaving the Weirwood network and going south to safety. So I don't know how much the show is going to get into that. Is it going
You have the crows that Bran would go and feed every day that could be tied into why Bran was there.
Sure. Thank you. I just got a delivery of more wine. Thank you. That's my hand there. I guess, but did they show him chasing the crows in the show?
There was one
Right.
when it was like a vision of him being able to use a bow and arrow.
After he'd already fallen, right? Okay.
Yeah, because he falls in the first episode, so the only time he's been like standing really is either in a vision or in the first episode before the fall. So
yeah, there's some really interesting comments. Sorry, in the chat. Bubba, I quite like this scenario. Bran's going to make it and retire to the Isle of Faces. Jon will kiss his forehead and leave him plugged into a tree. That, yeah, I mean,
I just wonder,
possibly.
Is the Jamie Bran Tower scene closer to a Hodor type scenario? That's what I wonder. Is that how it's going to play out? Not necessarily on Bran's behalf, but maybe on Bloodraven's. I don't know. It's just, I feel like the Bran's scenario that he presented in this episode opens up more questions than it does give answers, if that makes sense.
Can I just add one more thing about that scene and Bran and his importance and his position is, you know, when you get a scene that you're watching in the show and you think, that kind of means that one of them isn't going to make it, when you listen into a conversation or there's a scene between two people. Tyrion, when he wanted to find out what, you know, this has been an interesting journey, tell me all about it. Well, Bran obviously knows because he's experienced it. And now Tyrion knows because Bran has sat down and told him that. What else are you going to do the night before the world is going to end? Tell me everything about, you know. So I think that only one of them will make it to ensure that that story is told and that humanity, again, it's about humanity not being forgotten. So that just made me think, whoa, okay, now that Tyrion knows this, that means that only one of these two people can survive with that knowledge, with that information.
This is the big thing with Bran. And I said it to you on our reread. It's the one thing that's going to help, I think, help George get through the Bran POVs in the book. It's the one limitation we can put on Bran is that all he has is knowledge. He doesn't have wisdom. He doesn't really have much experience either. And they're the things that make it difficult for him to communicate to people and to actually give them information, I guess, information that they might need, or for him to even search for the information that they might need. Like, for instance, if we really want to know what Cersei and Tyrion's conversation, how that ended last season, Bran could find that out, but he needs to know that even happened. He needs to know to be in that room. So that's the limitation on it, and I think that's where the Night King can take advantage of it.
I think we're not going to get any more Bran powers that like we're expecting. He's just gonna sit in the wheelchair and be a piece of bait, and it's gonna bother me. But I hope I'm wrong. See, I'm sometimes
Yeah,
pessimistic.
he's gonna sit in that chair,
I,
which he's able to now. Apparently, he gets to move in and outside of of Winterfell now, because last episode we left him outside, and then this time he was inside. It's like he goes inside or outside, but it must take him a while to go inside or outside. But yeah, Bran's just gonna have to go through something, and if anything, John will have if Bran is the Night King, and this is the old friend that he was actually looking for, and it wasn't Jaime, and that Bran has to be the Bran in the wheelchair has to be killed so that Bran the Night King can survive, or whatever. I don't know, because you could say that the Night King is an older version of Bran, but that just plays with time warping and time logic, which the show does deal with, but not so much. Like
one thing's for sure, the only person safe in episode 3, I think, is the Night King. The Night King is the only one that isn't going to be killed in that episode.
probably John. You can maybe count that.
Cersei, if we don't get to see her.
Yeah, we won't see Cersei for 3 episodes. No, I'm kidding. We probably won't see Cersei next episode. If we do, have to wonder what the plot's going to be. It'd probably be maybe a flash to some wildfire caches, possibly. But I don't know how much they have to do. Until this battle for the Dawn is won, so to speak, I don't think Cersei's really going to come into play, other than Bronn being an extension of her, and we're going to see what happens with that next episode. Let me see what we haven't talked about yet. Oh, yeah, all the homies hanging around the fire. Let's talk about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and I know there's some more stuff, but before that, does anyone have a question for one of these keychains? So another keychain time. I promise I'll give you a little bit more time this time. Putting y'all on the spot. What? No?
I ask I can ask a question. Who sang Jenny's song in the closing credits? Not the character, the musician who sang in the closing credits of the episode. Who sang the song?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, Miss Catherine Cronin, who won?
It looks like it's Girl Nettles. Is that correct? Did I get that? Yeah, Girl Nettles. Excellent.
Girl Nettles. Hit me up on Twitter or Instagram in the PMs, and I will send you your keychain. Also, really quick, I have this awesome thing that's happening at the finale. Got a book, Handmade by Bobbi. Check this out in the chat. One of my great friends, she hand makes these things, and this will be given to some lucky person at the end of Game of Thrones, the Monday after the finale. And let me go ahead and open this thing up and show it to you, because it's fantastic. It is a little Maester's kit, so to speak. Of course, it comes from the Maester's Nook, so you're going to like that. And if I can get it open, that would be fantastic as well. But you know me. I know how to bungle stuff up, right? Don't you roll your eyes. I saw you, cat. Okay, so check out the binder. Handmade. It's fantastic. I see it covers up my face perfectly. And then put your drugs in there, man. Or, your Sweet Sleep. And this one has actually Sweet Sleep and the Strangler. Little purple crystals for giving to your friends, right? So be sure to stay tuned. I will announce the actual conditions and terms next week. So this was a little teaser and be teased. Let's get into A Night of the Seven Kingdoms and one of the most fantastic little scenes. I love it. because of Tormund, right? He's the one that stole the show. Tormund got knighted this episode. Oh, wait, no, it's Brienne. Tormund's wife got knighted. So, with that, go ahead. Anybody who can unmute first, because I can't remember who went first last.
Me. Oh, I love Brienne. She's one of my favorite characters in the books. I think she does a fantastic job, the actress in the TV show. It's that classic, she is outwardly physically very strong, but inside she's very shy, she's very vulnerable. There's something so appealing about Brienne. And I'm shooting for her all the time. I just want her to get what she wants. And in this episode, oh my God, she had. This is, and I know, and I'm accepting this. I'm absolutely fine with this now, that she's going to die in battle. I'll just say it quickly, and I don't have to think about it too much. But this experience that she had was so fulfilling and satisfying for a Brienne fan, because not only just everything, her confidence, everything was boosted. She had two men fighting over her for a start. And can I just say, that scene where she stands up and vouches for Jaime at the beginning was the eye acting that was going on there from Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who plays Jaime. Unbelievable. Just the reactions to, yes, I vouch for him, and the reaction to that, and then the reaction to, yes, I will stand next to him and fight with him. Just both his reactions were absolutely incredible. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. But the two men fighting over her, you know, in the kind of little gathering powwow that they had by the fireside, that experience of genuinely Brienne the Beauty, she's got two men fighting over her for her affection, for her attention, for they want to show that they're both loyal to her. Everything about that was just unbelievable.
Renly's everywhere.
I'm on a roll, don't stop me. She managed to, she also got to experience the fruits of her tutelage with Pod. You know, she saw that blossom in front of her eyes, her achievements with him over the last series. And oh my God, the bit that got to me the most, I don't know if anybody else caught this, but when Jaime said, "Come on, I'll show you how it's done," she did you notice that she looked to Pod for approval just for a split second? She looked over to Pod, and he kind of, it's good, do it, this is what you've always wanted to do it. And I am getting goosebumps just thinking about this scene. It is just, oh my God. And Tormund as well, what an absolute champion, just coming in and saying, what the fuck is all this about? Fuck tradition, rip it up, just this has to happen. And the joy on her face, knowing that she's probably going to die in battle in the next 24 hours, but the joy in her face when she realizes she is legitimately a knight. She's got one of the things that she always wanted. That is one of the best scenes ever. I will cry every time I see that scene. It just, so satisfying for a Brienne fan.
Do you believe that she's possibly going to die in fire, like her namesake great grandfather or whatever?
Possibly. You know, the only thing I'm mildly disappointed in, especially because Arya got some action, is that she's going to die a maid. That's the only thing that I'm kind of like, oh.
It could go the other way, though. I mean, are they actually going to kill the first ever female knight?
D&D, yeah.
Well, people who don't trust them, yes, I could see that. But I think it could go either way. I do think she is for the chopping block, but the first thing that I loved about this as well is the conversation they had when she was on the preparing for battle, and Jaime is talking to her like as an equal, and she kind of stops him, and it reminded of me with my relationship with one of my best friends at home who's probably watching, so hi. And she said, we've never had a conversation last this long without you insulting me. And like when I meet my best friend, it's like why are you not mocking me? What's going on? This isn't normal. So I felt like that. Like I always hated the shipping of Jamie and Brienne. So I kind of like the idea that they're friends more than anything else. By the way, the party around the fire, best characters you'd want in the room. Like with the exception of maybe the Hound there and Beric for his sexy voice, that's the room you want to be in. And it had wine and singing and morbid conversations about death. It's my perfect night out. Honestly, that's like at every Irish night out. Claire, when I see you in a couple of weeks, that's going to be us. And I loved the scene as well. I just cried so much. I loved it.
It's everyone. Pod needs a knighthood too, Geordie Jedi.
Yeah,
Stop saying this. Stop saying
my,
she's gonna die. What?
I think I said in my reaction video that it's like now Jamie has united Brienne, then Brienne can knight Podrick, so then Jamie will be a grandparent night maker or something like that. He'll be a grandparent, but as night maker.
Oh goodness. Peter Griffin had a funny one too. I didn't mind the scene, but Brienne's smile reminded me of all my terrible high school yearbook pics. Oh gosh.
Bob says, serious question. Does soaking yourself in now rotting milk make the zombies think that you're one of them? Hashtag fear the walking torment.
Fear the walking
makes you
torment.
Sexy, that's what it does.
How many do you think we'll lose next week? Let me know. And we can still talk about the scene, but how many do you think? That's from Katrin C. From my point of view. How many will we lose next week while I jerk around?
Minimum 5 characters.
Can I say the real question is how many will we keep? Because I can't see how they're gonna get. I really can't see. I don't know. I mean, I like the way they're preparing the walls of Winterfell with the dragon glass and the little traps. Although I'm not entirely sure about that trap going in. It looks like we're gonna have
They're gonna fall a foot and a half.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. And then Grey Worm. Yep. That'll do. No, it won't. Unless it's I don't know. Is it some trap for fire? Are they gonna light are they gonna have a moat of fire of some sort? I definitely think Jorah. I kind of had this thing with that fireside scene when Tyrion said, "I think we'll make it." I kind of felt, oh, great, Tyrion, you've basically just effed everyone else in the room because now you'll make it and nobody else in the room will. That's how I felt. Or then I was like typical, like as soon as you're seeing Game of Thrones, what are they playing with here? Is everyone he pointed out having won battles? Are they all doomed now in this scene? So Brienne, Davos, and Jamie, are they doomed because you said they'd have battle victories in their past? I don't know. I think everybody around that fireplace, with the exception of Tyrion, is probably doomed. And that includes my beloved Davos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, Tyrion, what about Tyrion's comment? He's gonna undead walk up there and kill Cersei. I know people are loving that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Claire.
No, I was just going to say I've got a list of 8 and I can go through why I think they're going to die.
Yes, please. I love it.
Right. Gendry, as I said, I think will be whited in the crypts. I think Brienne dies violently but valiantly in battle. I think Jorah will die in battle and that will isolate Dany further. I think Theon, his redemption, and say he will die saving Sansa. I think Gilly, only because I watched an interview with her where she said quite casually, and nobody picked up on it, that she exits the series before Sam does, which makes me think that she's going to be one of the early ones to go. I don't know what will happen with the baby though. Ed, I think
she has that little girl protecting her. Remember?
Yeah, she has. I think she'll die as well. I also think that
bold prediction.
Yeah, his Ed's watch is over. Unfortunately, I think possibly Tormund, although I'm not sure whether both Tormund and Brienne will die. And I think Grey Worm, he's got nothing left. Nothing left with Grey Worm. Just go.
They have
Can I say I think Ed would? Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry.
I would just say.
Yeah. Go on.
I'll just say really quick. I think Ed will live to spite us all.
I kind of agree with you, Johnny, especially after that talk. I also think that they'll have to keep either Tormund or Gilly, because we need a wildling representative, I think, at the end. Otherwise, I mean, if they're going to wipe out the Dothraki and the Unsullied, why not all of the wildlings as well, I suppose?
Yeah, I think there's going to be about at least a bare minimum of 5 important people that are going to die next episode. Like, that are important for the story as of right now. And yeah, I don't think we're getting Cersei unless it's literally a Battle of the Bastards style type of episode where we spend 5 to 10 minutes with Cersei, and then the rest of the battle is with us at Winterfell, just to have us catch up with Cersei for 5 minutes, maybe see how her relationship with Euron is going. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna, or catch up with Yara. That's it. I see 1 or 2 maybe sort of things because we have to remember that she's going back to the Iron Islands to win back the Iron Islands for herself. And if they have to retreat, where are they going to retreat? They're not going to go carry down south. They may have to go east
Are
or
they going to go
west.
to the Iron Islands? I mean, this is something Yara said in the first episode. Tell them to come there because it's supposedly safe. They were talking about the salt water. But, yeah.
Yeah, because unless they just want to keep going south afterwards, it's hard to say. But yeah, a lot of people think that it's going to be either half. Every people that we saw as having a pair in this episode will have to lose their subsequent match at the end of this.
Yeah,
so
Bubba is saying Tyrion, but I think based on that theory, Mackenzie, I don't know how you feel. I think Jaime is being set up to lose this one more than Tyrion.
Yeah, yeah, because we get in the official trailer Tyrion standing in what looks like sand and looking
Yes.
up like all confused. So
Yeah.
Tyrion has to survive this battle and go to King's Landing somehow. So
plus Jaime even said in this episode, I'm no longer a Lannister. He actually said it. So I don't think there's anything that will bring him south to kill Cersei. I can't see anything bringing him back into that.
She's drinking poison anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, I do love that theory. I think Jaime has just tied up all the loose ends that he needs to tie up, and yeah.
She could blow herself up too. I have some good questions really quick in the chat. Oh, Bubba Husky has a serious question. Does soaking yourself in now re-rotting milk make the zombies think you're one of them? Hashtag fear the walking Tormund. Katrin C. I think this one's right. Oh, no, already said that one. Sorry, Katrin. Didn't mean to tease you. Oh, Bubba Husky has another one. Will Brienne drag people she could save out of the burning castle like Dunk? I think that's a good question. And I think that's possible. We saw some, unfortunately, the burning of some outside of Winterfell. I won't talk about where I saw it, but after that, I haven't been on the internet as much.
It expand the Winterfell set. So, because it was very small before. So they did expand it. So I expect them to have people running around or like Army of the Dead. So yeah, that's totally a possibility. I haven't read the Dunkin' Egg yet, but I'll get there very soon.
Well, the part we're talking about anyway doesn't even happen, and that you hear of it in A Song of Ice and Fire, and there's some of it in the World Book as well, as far as what happened at Summerhall. It's not even in Dunkin' Egg yet, or A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Mackenzie, we should totally do a reread. I'd be up for that with you.
Let's see. I want to see a spin-off featuring Steve York. I want to see a spin-off featuring Tormund and Sweet Robin touring the North, testing goat's milk like crusty old BBC antique dealers. Oh my gosh!
I love it.
Where is Sweet Robin?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, where is he? Is he with Edmure? Because he's his uncle.
Yeah, I guess they have this pyramid scheme that they're going for that they learned.
Because
oh gosh.
Bronn
Anyways,
Roy was always in Sansa's ear like the last 2 episodes. So where's Sweet Robin? Unless he's somewhere in Winterfell and just no one wants to pay attention to him.
so Girl Nettles has a Why is Dany always challenging Tyrion's manhood? Do you guys think Tyrion will sneak out and try to prove himself in the fight and die? And why does Dany repeatedly tell him not to fight?
Well, he already disobeyed her. He's on the battlements, like he's not in the crypts. So when they arrive, he's not in the crypts. So he's already not doing what she told him to do, which may actually save his life, because I don't think it's a good idea to be in the crypts. I think that may come into play with the Night King or something. I don't know. Bran seems to realize that he shouldn't be in the crypts for sure.
He's with Davos as well on the battlement, so I think they're both safe, Davos and Tyrion, next week.
Oh, thank you, Claire. I knew this is why we're friends.
While I'm unmuted, can I just throw something in here? Because we're continuing to get reunions in this episode. I was very surprised at the Mormon reunion between Jorah and Lyanna. And we'd had a discussion about, like, most anticipated reunions. She's been a real sassy northerner so far. You imagine that she's going to be like, "You traitorous bastard." Blah, blah. And what she's actually said, so she basically wished him good fortune, cousin. And that was quite an underwhelming and unexpected.
Really, I loved that. I kind of loved that, because it kind of suggested that reunion had already taken place, and he was trying to plead with her once again, like, for the good of our house.
That wasn't the actual reunion, but I still thought she'd be a bit shitty with him, but for a while, considering she
Mormon, she's shitty with everyone.
Yeah, and the other one is Tyrion and Jaime, even to the point where Jaime just walked off in the middle of the conversation to go and have a look at what Brienne was doing. But it was like, again,
I thought he saw Bronn.
Well, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, he had like he'd never seen Brienne before, right? It was kind of odd. It was in a sense to where, I don't know, it felt like something you should have seen right before the reunion.
JR made a good point in Kyle's stream last night, because JR obviously was in the military, and he said that you always put your best commanders, generals, whatever, you put them on the left flank. And so when Jaime kind of goes to check the left flank, he realizes that it's Brienne in charge, and that's when he goes down. And so I kind of liked that idea, because I wouldn't have known that. Obviously, I'm an idiot. But JR kind of spoke a little bit about that on Kyle's stream last night, which I thought was really interesting. That Brienne is she's trusted enough by everyone to be put in that very important position.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even notice if it was the left flank there. But yeah, you would want your strong side is the right-hand side of the enemy. I think, if I'm getting it wrong, please someone yell at me. But yeah, that's a good point. I did think it was Bronn, though. A lot of people in the chat thought it was Bronn as well. What else we have here? Is anything you would like to bring up? I know we missed something, because there's so much in this episode. There's so much to unpack that it's gonna be easy to miss something.
The big thing obviously is the Jaime trial.
Oh yeah. Well, that was underwhelming for me just a little bit. I felt like there would be some pushback toward Dany, at least slightly. Then you have that brief moment with Sansa agreeing with Dany. It makes Dany smile, feeling like she's gained something here, or find some common ground, and then it's taken immediately away from her. It's a nice sweet and sour scene, but it just, and Bran throws out the cryptic comment, like, what is that for? If he has no emotions, what are you trying to do to Jaime here? Like, just tell him no? There's a few things here that can be. What is up, anime lover Nicole? How are you doing? Thank you for showing up. Sorry, I go off on tangents here. But, yeah, I don't know. That is weird to me. Go ahead with your thoughts on the trial of Jaime Lannister that lasted about 5 minutes.
I kind of liked it. I thought, because all week everybody's been talking about how this trial is going to take up most of this episode, and I was like, oh god, I don't really want that to happen, because the audience have already been on the journey with Jaime, so I don't think the audience needed for everything to be rehashed. I think the purpose of it seems to have been to alienate Danny even more, and for it to be very clear that Bran knows Jaime's role in all of this and in the end game, and Bran saying those lines to Jaime is Bran letting Jaime know that there's a bigger picture here, and then they have that little kind of Godswood chat later. The other thing with Sansa, when Brienne stands up, by the way, there were Brienne's first words in the entire season because she didn't speak last episode, so it's really important that she stood up for him. But Sansa, she kind of pulled a little Catelyn Tully there, you know. Brienne is if Brienne says it's okay, then it's okay. So it really felt like a callback for, I think, Sansa in the last few seasons. She's been like the perfect merging of Tully, Stark, more than any of the other kids. So, and we even see that in the books. So that, I thought that was a nice little callback. Overall, I didn't have a huge problem with it, but I can see why it was a little bit quick for you, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said or something. I don't know.
And-
People make jokes like that all the time.
The one thing too that I found kind of was like, huh, is when Daenerys Daenerys is sitting in the middle because she needs to do the trial, be the judge, jury, and seemingly kind of the executioner. But when Sansa says this is fine, and then she goes, "What does the Warden of the North have to say about this?" And Jon doesn't even look at her. He's like, "Well, this is what I think," and it's like, "We just need more men," and then just gets up and runs away. Pretty much. I would have thought that when they had a scene together again, that she would have addressed that. It's like, why are you running away from me? Like, I thought. Like,
I was hoping for him to say, I don't know, Auntie Danny, what do you fucking think I should do?
it's like, God damn it. But yeah, it's like, because him and Sansa run in the same, like, leave in the same direction, and she has to go around the table and out the other direction. So it's like, it could have, I don't know, like the fact that he's very sheepish and doesn't want to even like look at her until he kind of has to, is kind of suspect. But I also thought that it almost turned into a trial of Tyrion Lannister because of the fact of like, you said that this was happening, so that either you're stupid or you just want to go against me again. Like, Danny. But yeah.
Yeah, that it's a hard scene, especially how she takes it, right? And you had a pretty good little spill on this earlier, Claire. And did you bring enough for the whole class? That's the question.
Well, I've been snacking the whole time. You didn't ask me that question.
All right, send me some. Be quick about it, Claire. Oh, hashtag find the button. Still muted. It's all good. In the hood.
Sorry. Wow, schoolgirl error. Yeah, I did think that it would take a lot longer for the whole trial. I can't remember what it was that I said that was interesting earlier, but what I did take from it was, this is just another example, and this is beautiful for the book reader, but this is another example of how, isn't it interesting how you can get wildly different perspectives on the same story? So when they're talking about, account for yourself, and Danny really hypes up the drama about, you sat on the Iron Throne and you watched my father's like life's blood pumping out of him, and you can almost, how he didn't eye roll at that moment and just say, calm down, love, I'm here on my own with me shitty golden hand. I'm going to try and do the best that I can for you. You weren't even born. You don't remember what that was all about. Just pipe down. It just makes me again realize that the beauty of the storytelling, especially from the book perspective, weaving through the different points of view and how people can remember a certain history or a certain incident so wildly different. And of course, these different perspectives come down to, as Bran said and reminded us all and horrified Jaime when he said, yeah, the things that we do for love. because that's it. That's what you will do for your family. It depends on your point of view, really, is set around your family and where your loyalties are. So, yeah, the whole thing I thought would take a lot longer. I thought there'd be lots of redemption going on, but it was over and done with. She just kind of accepted it and they all moved on within like the first 5 minutes of the episode. So, yeah.
Can I just give this is a shout out to Bubba. Hi, Bubba. Bubba's one of my favorite people in the chat, I have to say. In all of our chats, but for our reread, Claire, Bubba has a lovely hashtag you never go full Tully. Claire and myself are a little bit anti-Tully.
Yeah, and then Phantom Descent just shows up. Did someone say Cersei? Oh, wait, I can't use that line. She wasn't in this episode, but we did talk about Cersei earlier, and you weren't here. Shame, forehead brother, shame. See, I got mine covered up. You got to respect the hair or lack thereof.
A lot of people are. Oh, sorry.
No, the Tully thing. That's yeah, I don't like the whole cat thing. Yeah, whatever. Not that cat.
It's more about Hoster actually with me and Claire. Yeah.
A lot of people are surprised that they didn't even hint at Rickard and Brandon, like at all, and have a kind of a thing about that as well. Like
Danny mentioned it to Sansa though, didn't she? She said I was coming back to take the Iron Throne for both. She said something weird about like families. Yeah, they destroyed both of our families or something like that. She alluded to it.
Well, they could say that getting Ned injured or whatever is the problem, but and the whole Robb Stark. But she doesn't. But Danny doesn't know about Robb Stark because she said I could have sworn the last king of the North was Torrhen Stark, but no, that was technically Robb, but okay.
I don't know. We know Danny doesn't read. They've said this before that she would do good by picking up a book, but
she can't read
learns everything. She's smart, but she seemingly is a lot like Robert Baratheon in a sense. This is why I compare her to Robert in the first episode. She has these delusions of grandeur and only sees what she wants to see. Not saying she's not right in certain areas, but there's a lot of times where she's blinded by her ambitions and just she has a fault. She has a secure personality to sink into, right? And she just stays there and doesn't really expand after everything that happened in Slaver's Bay, after getting the dog bit the hand that fed them, and she didn't like that, so she went and turned extreme, and that's been exacerbated and played out really, really highly this season.
Can I
like
ask a question, Johnny, for you guys and maybe the chat as well? Do you think that the way they're at least presenting Dany in Westeros, because she's quite different to Dany in Essos, do you think it shows that proximity to the Iron Throne, or I don't know, that lust for the Iron Throne in and of itself leads to madness? Because even Robert Baratheon kind of like he completely transforms into like an obese, alcoholic, lustful guy, which he had those tendencies before, but he's not like the hammer warrior that he used to be. And then with the Targaryens, I mean, Fire and Blood shows us that very few Targaryens escape like a stint in the Iron Throne without like losing it.
The throne kills them ultimately, usually, right?
Yeah. Ooh. I wonder, is there some link to?
Gil Nettles doesn't like that. No.
It could be like almost how they sort of mirrored the whole Drogon and Dany in 5-9 after in the fighting pits, where it's like as soon as she wanted it, it showed up. Like as soon as it's like the symbiotic relationship almost of the Iron Throne makes people mad, and whoever gets to sit on it just slowly either turns mad or they're already mad and it's just amplified.
It's not even just the Iron Throne, really, if you think about it. I mean, the Weirwood throne in the Eyrie certainly has an effect on Lysa, although she's already a little bit mad, but maybe even gets more mad when she takes that throne. Dragonstone potentially warped Stannis's mind a little bit as well. So, I mean, it's probably George's way of making a comment on power corrupting, ultimately.
Yeah. There's someone is Johnny's laughing at somebody in the chat.
Oh, Jaehaerys. I could talk about Jaehaerys a long
Yeah, no,
time
there's
because
definitely
he
good.
was. Well, hold on. Was he? If you actually look at what happened, he just scared people into submission. It was a propaganda machine that was put out. But he was also a really, really good king. That doesn't mean he wasn't without his faults, because if you actually look at what happened to Jaehaerys, it's impossible for someone to be that good their entire life, even though he did have some scruples here and there. There's seemingly some stuff covered up, but there are good Targaryens, yes. And Dany still has a chance, right?
Yeah,
she still has a chance to do the right thing.
Kings and queens are like HBO episodes of Game of Thrones. Some people love them, some people hate them.
Yeah, and Steve York.
There's some of the things they do are good, some of them are bad.
Steve York wants an awkward sex scene with Dany and Tyrion. Why not? That would be awful. I just read the part in the books the other day. My gosh, it scarred me. When Tyrion gets naked. Oh God. Anyways, I'm not going to talk any more about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
What did you actually think about Tyrion's line about he's done with whoremongering, and or whatever the line was? He's done with whores. Do you think that's any foreshadowing for maybe him settling down with somebody that's not a whore?
Maybe.
Well, only him and Sansa have been set up, kind of. And we see a little bit of their back and forth, almost flirty argument that they go to. And if, I wouldn't even say this if they hadn't did what they did with Arya and Gendry, and they made it a really clunky, not a flowing love. And I think if Tyrion and Sansa end up with anyone, it'd be each other. I don't see any other options. They haven't really set it up right. What do you think?
Why not Podrick? Because he changed his look all of a sudden between the last episode and this one, where they gave him a haircut and all of this other stuff.
She hasn't even talked to Podrick though. Technically,
I still think there's pressure there. Pressure from the north is going to come on Sansa and Jon to get together. I still think that's a possibility,
especially once that implodes. Yeah, like once that reveal just like explodes in their faces. I'm surprised that if the battle is successful and they win out, which probably will be likely because Jon, Daenerys, and Tyrion and Jon probably have plot armor, at least for next episode, that he'll have to go and tell the girls about it. He's going to have to tell Sansa and Arya this whole situation. He was told it, and now he's told the second person who needs to know it. Now all these other people need to know it before everybody else does.
Yeah, and also I think Dany, I kind of feel like something's going to happen with Dany in this battle where she'll either flee or Drogon flees and she'll be on back, so it'll look like she has fled the scene and will go to Dragonstone. And either way, whether Dany decides to do it or it's Drogon does it because he sees Rhaegal and Viserion kill each other, something dramatic will happen with those dragons. And whatever happens, I don't think Dany is going to leave this battle looking well in the eyes of the Northerners. They've been setting it up for this. They've really been setting it up for this, especially if she loses potentially all of her army. So yeah, it could. I think. Yeah.
I do feel like she could flee because the way they edited it, the trailer or the preview is that she's climbing on top of a dragon and Jon's just like staring off. So it could be very much of a possibility that Daenerys thinks she's doing the right thing, and then she kills as much as she can before Drogon decides like, peace out. I'm out of here.
Dragons have a mind of their own, so there's definitely historical evidence of dragons just like deciding, okay, I'm out. And especially if we see dragons killing one another.
Yeah. Especially if it's the dance of the dragons.
And that will get the North, I think, behind this Jon Sansa idea. And
especially since they gave him high heels, so now that they're at
did they
the same height? Like if you look at the angle or the shot where it's John and Sansa standing at the same height, they're at like virtually the same height compared to the last episode where he walks in and they're talking about Lord Glover and stuff. You can see the obvious height difference.
And that was one of my favorite scenes in the last episode. They've definitely set up something there, with something very interesting with those two. And Fake Arya, hi Fake Arya, says Drogon has done it before. He definitely has. He's definitely just decided, right, I'm out. So
Yeah,
he's definitely done it before.
Like, I'll swoop in when you need me to, but I'll definitely swoop out when I want to, kind of thing.
It depends how much. He swooped out before she was a dragon rider, before they had that bond, because they inevitably have this weird type of imprinting thing, if that's a word I could use for this, that where they're connected almost subconsciously, their emotions flow through one another. I think that's the huge significance of why Jon has a dragon now. It's Dany's baby, but it's not her dragon anymore. Rhaegal will fight Drogon if it comes to that, if that's what Jon wants of the dragon. If you're going by book canon, since Jon's a dragon rider now. Now they could go against that, and I would argue that we'll never even get to that point, because we're going to have a Dance of Dragons 2.0 in this upcoming episode with Rhaegal and Drogon fighting Viserion. So that's why I get a little bit confused about them drawing the Night King to the Godswood. Like, are they drawing him on Dragonback where they'll meet him above the Godswood? That'd be pretty cool. But then, what do you... yeah, Bran gets smushed like a bug underneath the falling dragon. Because I do think one of the dragons will live, injured. Like Sunfire. No, it's not Sunfire. Damn it, I can't remember his name. Is it Sunfire? Oh, see? Anyways, like Sunfire.
Dreamfire? No,
Dreamfire was Helena's dragon and ended up with someone else's dragon too. I can't remember. No, it might have just been Helena's. Either way, whatever. I'm getting off on topic here. But I think a dragon's going to be injured. Possibly Jon gets burned a little more, kind of like Aegon II. And I think we've seen foreshadowing of this in the books, at least, with him getting burned on the hand.
it happened in the show as well.
Yeah, they didn't play it up as much with him flexing his hand all the time. But I don't know. They could come back to it because they've did stuff like that before. I will shut the hell up now and let other people talk.
Well, thanks for letting me disappear for a few minutes while I completely demolished an entire pack.
Oh my god, rainbow drops!
Rainbow drops! You know when you start eating something that you just are like, has everybody been eating lots of sweets and chocolates over Easter? Because I just don't seem to be able to stop. But I have to tomorrow. Have we spoken about that last scene yet in any amount of detail with when Jon, he tells her?
Not really, no, we haven't.
Really, story, yeah. No, not really.
Should we cover that now?
Can I just make one more point before we move on from the dragon stuff? I also think that they might be setting Jon and Sansa up as like Ned and Kat 2.0, and that if Dany ends up pregnant, I spoke about this in our stream the other day, if Dany ends up pregnant without marrying Jon and there's a bastard child from that, I think it would be really nice if it was Sansa then raising Jon's bastard in a similar way to Kat raising Ned's bastard like she thought. So I think that's that would be nice. I also like the idea, Johnny, of if Jon gets burnt in this battle, that kind of goes against Sansa's, handsome prince and all that kind of thing, because we've seen that definitely in the books and in the show, that Sansa has had to grow to accept people for beyond their titles and beyond their looks. So sorry, Claire, if you want to go on now.
No, well, it was just to kind of cover that last scene. How we felt it was, because I know that you said in your messages, Kat, that you thought it was a really terrible delivery on Jon's part. And it's like, yeah, actually, if you imagine that, it could go a million different ways. It could be like, look, I've just heard something really terrible. Probably now's not the right time. I know we're on the eve of battle, but there's something I've been told that's really freaking me out that we need to definitely have a talk. We need to talk about this. But just the way it came up in conversation, the way she reacted with the how we've been led to believe, what's important to Dany at the moment, the Iron Throne. So that immediate reaction of, oh, your competition, shit, right, okay, not, oh, we're related, or oh, this complicates things, or whatever. It was just that immediate sort of competitiveness, which John was completely confused about. He's totally out of his depth here. And then obviously the three blasts, and we get that scene with the White Walkers. But what did you all think about that? About the delivery, about the conversation they had? What is this going to mean for them going forward? I think, there's various different possibilities here. They could basically turn around and they can't. It's not going to be resolved, is it? Something's going to happen in battle. They're going to go straight into it. One of them's going to die, and we're not going to necessarily get to find out if they were ever able to ally and say, well, look, actually, hang on. There's a way of being able to sort of sort this out, including what Sansa wants for the North and all of that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Mackenzie, I'll kind of throw it to you on this one. I know we've kind of talked about Dany basically dying in Jon's arms the same way Ygritte did. Jon having those final regrets. It's seemingly mirroring their relationship, even to the point where Jon's having to pretend like he's going along with her plan. Doesn't mean he doesn't love her, but he's pretending to go along with it. Everything seemingly has pointed toward that for me. You could still say that Jon believes in her, but I don't know at this point. You could see Jon's face when she said certain trigger words, and the whole changing of calling her your grace, at Dragonstone. But go ahead, Mackenzie.
Yeah, I did a video that I posted last night before the episode, where it was basically mirroring looking at a lot of scenes that Jon has had with Ygritte and a lot of scenes that he's happened to have with Daenerys, including scenes of him being separated with having another person involved in a scene, but it was when he was at that location. So from the introduction to the comparing the climbing of the wall to the dragon riding, all of that and so forth, to pretty much get to the point where we end with Jon and Ygritte's relationship, and if it is such a similar thing, because I even talk about how Tormund being introduced into the storyline is very much like when Gendry is introduced, and it's that right place at the right time, finding somebody important that's equal to the story and moving it forward. Not necessarily Gendry is that for Jon, but it's providing him that opportunity to, because of having Gendry simply there, gives them the opportunity to send the Raven. Because if Gendry wasn't there, who were they going to send back? A red shirt? A red shirt doesn't really have enough weight, so on and so forth. But when the delivery and the conversation of, this is who my mother is, like, this is Lyanna Stark. Oh, I heard my brother loved her and all like this, and then he raped her. I don't think, unless it was Viserys that told her that Lyanna was raped to produce said child, who told her that? Because I don't think Barristan would have known that, because Barristan always spoke highly of
it was the
Rhaegar
story. I just don't know where she would have heard it from, because both of them were gone by the story was being spread around. It's a decent point you have there. She does know a little more than she seemingly should, and knows less than she should at certain times. But,
and then the fact that Jon was like she had a baby and they got married and all of this, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, and the baby's me. It's like, and then she goes, that's the secret that no one knew. It's, well, the maester that performed the ceremony or the septon that performed the ceremony, the maester that recorded this, Rhaegar Lyanna knew. The Howland Reed knows probably that something like this happened, but he's not in the story anymore, or ever. And the wet nurse that was in the story knows. So it's about 10 people, plus Ned Stark, that know this secret. Just maybe not people that are quote-unquote alive, or they want to introduce into the show, that know the secret. But The fact
Vanessa
that
Amnesty has a decent point, saying Tyrion could have told her about that, but getting into semantics here, I'll shut the hell up.
and then the fact that pretty much the horn blows and that they run upstairs and then it's just nods and then they run away. It's like there was an in-between scene of like, let's not talk about this. Let's stop this conversation. We'll talk about it after the war is over. Like we needed that extra 2 lines of dialogue just to be like, let's not talk about this right now. We gotta go, kind of thing. Because it was very choppy. Like a lot of scenes in this episode seemed like you'd get into the flow of the scene and then it'd get cut off between some characters, in my opinion.
I just love P. Sands' comment, John has Ned's timing, because it's just, I feel like he didn't need to tell her then because she doesn't ask, like, why are you off with me? She just goes and kind of snuggles up to him. Also, why is he spending so much time in the crypt? Like, isn't there shit to do? There's a war coming. I mean, this is definitely something we now know he probably inherited from Rhaegar. All this brooding definitely seems to have been a Targ thing rather than a Stark thing. I feel like he could have opened with, listen, I don't want the Iron Throne, but information has come to light. And this is what's going to happen. I also think Dany should have, like Jon, instantly accepted it because of the magical romantic dragon ride. That was proof to Jon, oh, that's why I can do that. That should have instantly twigged with Dany. Oh, that's why he can do that. That's why my dragons are not afraid of him. I mean, it seems so obvious. So I don't know. And maybe that's why she does push against it, because she inherently knows that that is the truth. But she's trying to grasp at anything to disprove it as being true. But yeah, I thought his delivery was awkward. Yeah.
Can I just throw in there at that very precise point? That was, I'm going to take that as one of those weird book readers that doesn't necessarily believe in the books that R plus L equals J. Okay. So when Dany says, really? Yeah, that's really bloody convenient that, that story's been laid out for you. That made me smile in my own little way. It just made me think, yeah, actually, it is a bit of a convenient story and maybe there is more to it. But yeah, Jon comes in and says, but it's true.
Yeah, but she's not gonna buy into that story. She showed she's not gonna buy into that story, and it's not gonna make it any better if she does make it out of the Battle of Winterfell, which I think she will. How she makes it out of that battle, I don't know. Because if she's flying on a dragon and she's gonna fight possibly dragon on dragon, because if the Night King gets off the dragon back, the dragon's still gonna be blowing shit up, right? So you're still gonna have that. You could have Jon fighting the Night King and Dany fighting White Viserion. Ooh, that would be some poetic tragedy right there, having to kill one of your children. Ooh, that may happen.
Okay? Is it okay to talk about the preview?
Yes, we can start getting into.
Okay.
I'm sorry for yelling, but we can get into predictions.
No, just because of what you said, that how she survives, and this is why I think she will flee, or she, before the battle goes in favor of, which I think it'll go. I think most people think it'll go in favor of the Night's King, because she says in the trailer, oh gosh, you're going to have to correct me on this now, Johnny. I bow to your superiority. She says something like the dead are already here. Like it's almost like it feels like she's making a point to Jon that, and I wasn't sure if it's the dead are here in that Rhaegar and Lyanna have redecided my fate, or is it the dead are here and there's nothing we can do, so I'm out.
It's nothing we can do. She's trying to convince Jon to leave right then, probably.
I think so too. And I text Claire at about 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning going, she's gonna run. I think she's gonna run.
Do you think it could be the dead are already here because she looks really pissed off as well in that clip? She's right in his face. Do you think that could be that she's just discovered that actually he was resurrected and he's dead. He came back from the dead.
I think she already saw that on the boat, though, right? And Arya knows that story, so I'm guessing loads of people know that story.
Yeah, maybe.
The other thing is, maybe she's pissed off. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he got the Valyrian all wrong. Maybe he didn't pronounce Dracarys right, and he lost a dragon. I don't know. There's something. It seems as if there's something.
Dracarys.
Dracarys. What is it? Danny, wait.
Hey, Danny, Dracarys.
Yes, like Dracarys. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yes, anime lover. Danny did look pregnant when she's walking through the cave. How the lighting was, like the way that her jacket fell folded over, it did look like a little bit of like a thing. But then in another outfit, she looks fine. So it's either she's gained, like the fabric is that thick that it in some outfits it looks like that. But
Mackenzie, can you remember a few episodes ago, a couple of seasons ago, where Jon got stabbed through the heart by his brothers in the Night's Watch, and then he was dead for quite a while before he got resurrected by Melisandre? How do you think that might affect a chap's fertility?
I know, right?
Poof.
I don't think they're gonna play with.
I can't get my head around it unless it's a magical baby, a magical child, the prince that was promised. I just don't get this pregnancy thing.
I more or less believe in the fact that it's Rhaegar was the one that perpetuated the prince that was promised, and it's Jon, because it's literally he was promised by Lyanna to Ned to protect him, and that's because it was being born of that last line. I don't think that she is. It's a lot of Jon and Dany are the ultimate supreme survivors of this story that like to think this mentality a little bit, although I'm stirring up controversy here. But yeah, it's more or less that the Disney ending is that Jon gets a baby with Daenerys and all of that. Like, this is not how the story ends. Plus, it's only been maybe a month since the last episode. So you can say that she may get signs, but by the time from the last episode to this episode, it was 12 to 24 hours. So next
I've seen Twilight. I know how quick babies grow.
That magic.
So kind of with that, I'll go to something else with the Crypts of Winterfell. And if they haven't burned these bones, if they haven't burned Rickon, they're idiots. They're idiots if you're going to let the bones from the Crypts of Winterfell come out of their graves. Because Bran knows this, Jon knows this, and hopefully they're not sticking people down there thinking, oh, people aren't going to come out of their graves. We've all seen this before, but let's just put them in a trap. I hope that doesn't happen, even though I feel like it's going to.
Sticking all the women and the children with no soldiers in the crypts. Smart idea.
And then with the 99 of Craster's sons we see. Now, they're not 99. We've, lost about 5 of them. So you could say it's in the 90s how many of Craster's sons we got. They are all there. We haven't seen them before. No. He has gathered everything.
But the Night King isn't there. The Night King, it doesn't seem to be there. He doesn't seem to... I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's either going to show up at the end, or there's something he's going to draw. He's going to draw maybe Jon on Dragon away from Bran, or something's. I feel like Bran. It feels like Bran knows he has to be taken. I kind of have this image of like Jon being Liam Neeson on the phone, going, "You're going to let them take you." And just like describe the Night King's describe his cologne as you're leaving. Just there's something not quite right about Bran choosing, like we've already seen, he doesn't need to necessarily be near the weirwood in order to use the power of the weirwood. So why hide there and not in the crypts? There's a reason he's not in the crypts, right? He doesn't want to let the Night King into the crypts. This is the thing, right? I think. But if
He
that's
could
the
draw more
case, then
power
why?
from the weirwood, right? If he's trying to do some sort of weir realm, but it's been so simplified that I thought the Night King, and I still won't completely throw it out that he's going to King's Landing for his army. But if his goal is just to kill Bran, then there's really no purpose for him to go to
Can't be
King's
just
Landing.
that.
Unfortunately, I hope it's not.
I
But
don't
they have
think so.
seemingly dumbed this down. I'm gonna stick with the simple explanation for now because that seemingly is what's been working this season. So I'm gonna say slightly simplistic. But I hope I'm wrong. Honestly, Claire, the Oracle. Give us some good news about something. I mean, stop bringing me down, Claire.
Well, sorry, I know, I'm being provocative. There's a comment here from Girl Nettles. The Night King is flying to King's Landing. Well, yeah, so he could swoop in on Viserion, which just makes me wonder whether or not we're going to see either Jon or Dany losing, basically falling off a dragon, and then that's where is Bran going to warg a dragon to fight against the Night's King, or a dragon rider maybe? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, does he have to at this point? I don't think so. I think there would have to be some extenuating circumstances for him to be put in that position now. And Girl Nettles, I do, you make a good point. He's not going to fall for Bran's trap. Well, honestly, there's a lot of things he shouldn't fall for right here. He should go straight to Jon and Dany and kill them, honestly, and then go kill Bran. Because if he supposedly sees everything that Bran does, and maybe there has to be some sort of connection. Maybe Bran has to go into the weir realm, but that's not what Bran said. Bran says he knows where I am. He knows what I'm doing because he marked me. So I'm hoping he's not saying how complicated it's going to be because that won't help in the long run. It's not going to help them to tell him how hard it's going to be. You just need to do this job. And maybe I'm hoping we'll get this explosion of power from Bran. Not in a traditional sense, but him using his mind like we've seen in the past. Because I feel like if he doesn't, there is no progression of Bran's character or his powers. It's just kind of blah.
I think he's definitely withholding something, or there's a limit to his knowledge in some way. The other thing I wondered was, will the Night's King, will we get this kind of cold open where the Night's King is taking out the Glovers while he sent the army ahead to start at Winterfell? I feel like the Glovers are going to get away with murder here. Because we're not going to see them again, but maybe if they do, good for them. But I do like that idea that he could potentially go on ahead, but I don't know. So much setup. I don't know where they're going to go. I really hope. I'm like you, Johnny. I don't want to be a pessimist. I hope it's not that simple an explanation, because there has to be more to Bran. I mean, I want a flashback. I want some real weight behind the power that he has. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He has to have a little something. Claire, I know you want to chime in, but we do have a good question from Lauren's Corner on the brand topic.
Say that.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So Q&A, if Bran is all memory, then if he dies, will everything be reset? Has a previous three-eyed raven been killed, and that's why no one can agree or remember how old the world is? Yes, definitely. There's also another question which kind of links to it with Lisa, our friend Lisa from House Polished. And she's not a book reader, but from the show perspective, she's got great insight. And she says, if the Night's King is trying to erase history, like Bran said, is the Night King on his way to destroy the Citadel? Maybe that's his target. Maybe that's why he's traveling down south.
In the books, that Citadel's burning somehow in the books for sure. I think they just forgot about it in the show, but
I like that. I like that though, because it was brought up again in this episode with Sam on top of the wall. You know, him stealing the books from the library, and there has to be a reason. Because I don't know if I was hoping there would be some really nice reveal through a book of some sort But I don't know if we're going to get that. But maybe it's just to remind us that the Citadel is still a thing that can be taken out. And that's like the written knowledge of the world, the written memory of the world. It does. I don't really want like the Night King to be reduced to something that's just like taking out civilization, and that Bran embodies all of that knowledge.
What's your caveman evil dude conspiracy, right? Like, ugh, I'm going to kill Bran. Ugh, dark is good. Ugh, no human ever.
It's like a really bad Trojan virus, just trying to get rid of all the information.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, SaSa.
The Night King, either he's gonna do what Ramsay did and is just gonna sit back for a while, watch the army be decimated, and then go to Bran and Jon and Theon, whoever is protecting Bran in the Godswood. And then there's that gonna happen, because there's a lot of like orange around Jon where he unsheaths Longclaw or something. So it's like there could be a situation where either Bran is stuck in Viserion or something and he has to like let him go, or Bran just is a situation of, because I don't think physically the Night King is going to get his hands on Bran and be like, let go of my brother, kind of thing. Like, that's not what's going to happen. If that does happen, I'll be just like, God dang it. But there's gonna, either Jon has to kill Bran to save everybody, or has to and it has to be one way or the other. It's not going to be an easy kill for Jon, even though we're thinking way too high here and being like, oh, that's not going to happen, because the show's kind of just went less and less with more of a high of mind kind of thing, because they talked about the high of mind idea, but first you have to get to the leader of the high of mind to get to kill everybody else. And
yeah, and a simple trap to draw him. He wants me. I'm the juiciest piece of bait in the 7 kingdoms. Look into my dead eyes.
Yeah. Baelish.
So let me give a shout out again to all my patrons, because I just got to do this. I feel so blessed. Amy True, Anime Lover Nicole, Bobby Catalano, Catherine Harding, Clarissa Thompson, John St. Baptiste, Dark Mother, and Katrin C. Okay, see, I just got weird with it. But with that, what are y'all's final thoughts on the episode? Would you like to give it a ranking? I really don't care if you do or don't. But just tell me what you thought. And we kind of said what we expected, but just throw out a juicy comment to end it. And let us know where we can find you as well. And don't be ashamed to show off those nails.
Well, you can find me and Catherine on Catherine's channel every Saturday with Lisa Hendy, House Polish, where we do weekly episode reviews. Like I said, first watch, thought, what's going on? This is a bit of a filler. It's just very character driven, but all good stories are about the characters, and we had to have that time with them before the battle. As one of the writers said in the the behind the scenes, that this is a love letter to the characters, and it certainly was that, especially the scenes around the fire and, oh my God, like Brienne being knighted and getting everything that she wants. I scored last week's episode as an 8 out of 10, and I think I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. Yeah.
9 out of 10. That's an interesting ranking. Whatever. No, I can see how you give it that. Going back, definitely, I have a little more love for this episode upon first watch. My emotions were shattered a little bit. SaSa, I'll let you go first, and we got to let the great Cat, not Cat Tully, go last. Go ahead, Mackenzie.
This episode, for what it was and being a battle episode, it was fairly well done. There was some scenes that you're just kind of like, really? a little bit of choppy parts, but it's okay. On first watch, I think I thought it'd be about a 7.5. Now I'm looking at it and it's like, I'll give it an 8, but I'll leave my funny rating for Wednesday, which on Wednesday we'll be covering this episode again for episode club. It should be me, Johnny, and a few other people joining us for that around 8:30, and I'll have my reaction video out sometime tonight for this episode. And yeah, that's fine. You know where to find me. I'm always here or on my own channel or Silent John.
Yes, click on Claire's channel, click on Mackenzie's channel, and click on Catherine Cronin / Miss Cronow's channel. Touch all the buttons in a respective manner. Catherine Cronin, Miss Cronow, aka Cat. Let us know where they can find you. Your final thoughts on this episode, and I guess what you would rank it, since that seems to be the trend at the moment.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be the most enthusiastic, and of course, as usual, I'm going to agree with Bubba. And Chris, actually, there's a few other people. I'm giving this 10 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've watched it about 3 times today. My husband, we was like, "Are you watching it again? I want to watch it again." And the two of us were like, so I really, really enjoyed it. For me, the line of the episode that I cried a couple of times. I cried a lot, of course, with Brienne. I was joy though, but I cried when Sam said that death is being forgotten, and that kind of hit very close to the bone for me at the moment, because it's something that I think about a lot. So I feel though that he might be wrong, and I think the Night King has remembered something. There's a memory that's keeping the Night King coming south, and I don't want to be totally pessimistic, I'm fighting cancer at the moment, so I can't be pessimistic. So I think the show is going to give us another motive. I think we're going to get something else. I don't think Sam is entirely right. I think that even in death, the Night King has remembered something. There's a memory keeping him going, even if it's just pure vengefulness at the loss of his human life. There's something that's keeping him going. So yeah, I'm kind of hopeful on that score. But yeah, you can find us at all the links there. And I dropped a link to our chat on Saturday in the chat. Thank you so much for having me, Johnny. And it was lovely I think this is the first time I've been on a stream with Mackenzie, which is brilliant. Claire, I'm amused, Claire.
It was awesome. It was my pleasure. Nothing but love. We love you. We love you, Claire. We love you, Mackenzie. Much love. So definitely go check out their channels. Awesome content. With that, I do want to make a couple of announcements. Like I said, the book will be given away at the end. We have our 2 winners of the keychains, Clarissa Thompson and Girl Nettle. So definitely hit me up there. I'll be coming out Wednesday. Magor, the first part 2 will be out. It'll be on my Patreon today. Also, I'm going to do a Brienne of Tarth / Duncan the Tall video quickie. So be on the lookout for that. Some nice epic cuts of Brienne doing her thing. That will be fun. And I'll do a small breakdown, but you'll hear more about my thoughts of the episode. I'll really get into it on Episode Club, MackenzieLBurns channel, 9 p.m. Wednesday. Also, I do 2 streams a week. Last week I did 3. I lied, but 2 streams every Monday and Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. So come check that out. With that, definitely check out my Patreon. Become a crazy companion today. And so I don't stop sounding like a robot. Much love, my friends. And I'm going to read off some of your rankings in the chat. Tad Dawson, 9, gives it a 9 out of 10. Anime Lover Nicole gives it a 9 out of 10. Fandom Descent gives it a 9. Chris Taylor gives it a 10. Peter Griffin gives it a 6. Peter's got them high standards. Katrin C, from my point of view, gives it a 10 out of 10. I'm not going to lie. I give this one an 8. Tantalizing Tormund Tierra Masseuse. I think this is a fun episode, definitely looking back. If you would have caught me right after the episode, I might have said a 6, Peter. I'm not going to lie. But after looking back on it, it's a lot more. And Lauren's Corner gives it a 7.5 out of 10. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. If I missed anyone, let me know in the comments and be angry with me. But with that, we will catch you on the next Nooners of Thrones. And hopefully I didn't forget anybody.